This is an example of the earliest form of plow, before plane makers went crazy with the decoration. It's called a Yankee Plow. Like all plow planes, it has a fence that rides along the edge of the board to determine the distance from the edge at which the groove will be cut. In this case, the arms of the fence are just plain square wood locked in place by hand-carved thumb screws. We can tell from the design of this plane that it dates to the late 1700s, but the maker's name, unfortunately, is just too faint to read. The story of plow plane development in the 1800s is that of different attempts to develop methods of adjusting the fence so that it can be moved to different distances while keeping it perfectly parallel to the body of the plane. Emmanuel Carpenter of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, was one of the first makers to develop threaded arms to hold the fence rather than the square sliding arms we just saw in the Yankee Plow. These threaded arms, locked by nuts, permitted fine adjustment of the fence. Carpenter, who patented his design in 1838, also helped start the trend of using exotic woods for plows. As you can see, this one is made of boxwood with rosewood fence and arms and ebony nuts. A major development in plow plane design was the three-arm or center wheel plow. In a center wheel plow, rather than move the two arms of the plane independently, a center arm with an adjustment wheel moves the entire fence, theoretically keeping it perfectly parallel to the fence while it is being adjusted to different distances. Although center wheel plows were first invented in the 1830s, the two most prolific manufacturers were two Ohio firms, the Ohio Tool Company and the Sandusky Tool Company. They look very similar, and the way to tell them apart is that the adjustment wheel on Ohio Tool Company planes, like this one, is always made of boxwood. Actually, this entire plane is made of boxwood, but the center wheel adjustment will always be boxwood. In the Sandusky Tool Company plane, the center adjusting wheel is made of brass. This one, keeping with the trend of always making plow planes out of exotic woods, is solid rosewood. You'll note that although the center wheel adjusts the fence all at once, that's too unstable to actually lock the fence in place, so it has to be locked by these thumb screws at the top of the plane. Now here's an example of the kind of ostentatious decoration that characterized plow planes. Many plow planes have ivory tips on the ends of the arms. These are called ivory tips. This particular plane was made by Kitchel and Company. They were one of the many companies that contracted with the New York prison system to use convict labor to make their planes. So we can contemplate this beautiful piece of 19th century craftsmanship and think of the fact that it was made from the tusks of an endangered species, probably by some guy serving a life sentence for something like stealing a loaf of bread. This plane is a little bit of a throwback. Although it dates to 1854, instead of having screw arms, it's got the sliding arms locked by wooden thumb screws that we saw on the Yankee plane. This was made by J.W. Pearce of Providence, Rhode Island, who was kind of a quirky maker. He had a lot of little differences in his planes. You notice the kind of upturned nose on the end of the skate. It was very distinctive to Pearce's work. He also had brass tips on the arms. That's very typical of British planes, but very unusual in the United States. Now this plane is actually made of beech. It's a very common wood, except that the fence is made of boxwood. Boxwood is very hard, and a lot of plow plane makers would either make their entire fence of boxwood or they would put a strip of boxwood along the edge to keep it from wearing unevenly. This is a practice known as boxing.